Hello, my name is Geogen and welcome back to World of Tanks. 100 videos up today. This is the 100th video, so milestone achieved. And if I'm wrong, you can tell me down below. But I think it's the 100th video, so in celebration of that, I will be doing the AMX 5120 and a review of it, much like the T54E1. Now, this was a request from one of my subscribers. Forgive me, I can't remember which one it was. Perhaps I'll put a little banner across the screen telling us the comment. Anyway, the AMX 5120 Tier 9 French heavy tank. I will be telling you its strengths and weaknesses, and it will be accompanied with some gameplay in the form of a battle played by myself. Now, the vehicle has 1750 hit points, which is on the lower end of the heavy scale at Tier 9. E75, for instance, has 1920 hit points, and the Conqueror has the most, I believe, at 1950. Unless the VK4502B has more, or equal. I forgot about that vehicle. But anyway, the 5120 does have the least hit points for any Tier 9 heavy tank. The vehicle also weighs 60 tons, which is less than that of its other Tier 9 brethren, other than, I believe, the WZ111. The WZ111 is a heavy tank, but it has a weight of 45 tons. So the AMX5120 is bigger and weighs more. However, it does have an excellent engine of 1000 horsepower and a top speed, therefore, of 65 kilometers per hour. I don't think I've reached this on the flat. Going downhill I have, but then again, I don't take a look at the speedometer all the time when I'm in the battle, so I may well have reached 65 kilometers an hour. The top speed of 65 is therefore really, in some circumstances. You see how I saved myself there from just repeating myself. Smooth, I know. Anyway, 32 degrees traverse speed of the tracks, and the turret is okay. It's nothing special for a heavy tank, and it's nothing crippling either. It is more mobile than the E75. And the view range of 390 at base 100% crew is okay. It's pretty standard. 409 meters view range with the crew I have on the left there. And 750 meters signal range jumps up to almost 800. No one really cares though, because it's just a radio. It's not the tank itself. So, I've talked about the minor stats and the weight and hit points. I will now go to Tanks GG and have a look at the armor layout. So here we are in Tanks GG with the AMX 5120 and the armor layout. Now on the left we have normal armor values, and on the right we have spaced armor values. So from the front, the whole armor is 100mm base thickness. It does have some angling, like the IS-3's frontal beak, as it were. But the frontal beak on the AMX 5120 is rubbish compared to that of the IS-3 for a couple of reasons. One, the IS-3 has a better angle, and two, the IS-3 has 110mm thickness as opposed to 100, and it's much lower profile. So you can see we are able to get around 120mm thickness, and even though the armor profile in the game says 100mm, I've now been informed it's actually 90 on the upper plate. So you can get anywhere between a minimum of 119 up to a maximum of around 141 if they shoot you up here. That's where it's most likely going to bounce from the front if you're angled like this. The lower plate, in fact, is 100mm thickness, and that is actually the strongest part of the frontal armor. You can see, because it's a very low to the ground, lower plate, and it's 100mm thick and angled very well. Reverse slope of 55-53 degrees. It goes up in thickness to around 250, 260 from the front if angled like this. Shooting up on it, of course, it's just 100mm, so you can go through it. But then again, you would have the bottom of the vehicle down here as well. So, additionally, on the sides, these are 80mm of frontal armor, but they are better angled than that of the beak, so they will prove more of a challenge for, well, pretty much nothing, because the armor is useless on this thing unless in very certain situations and RNGesus praises you, or goes against you if you're shooting at one of these. So, for instance, if I was to angle the tank like this armor is now useless. It's only 90 or 98mm thick, maybe going to 100. There it is, 100mm there. And this also becomes thinner, but this becomes stronger, much like the weakness of the IS-3, IS-7, IS-8, all those tanks which have beak armor like this. And again, on this side, if I angle like this, this goes down. Now, moving on from the hull armor, because I'm going to get dragged on with how bad it is, turret armor isn't any better either in terms of core thickness. 90mm here, 100mm up here, so there's two different parts. It's quite hard to see because they're both reddy orange colours, but here is thinner and here is stronger. And then it goes progressively weaker towards the side of the turret here. Now, the angling around the gun and the gun mantle is good because A, you've got spaced armor around the gun mantle, and it's better, like right here for instance, it's 300mm thick. But again, the thickness is generally pretty bad, and the angling, even though it is present, is not going to save you in most circumstances. Again, up here, 100% chance of penetration, 40mm of this rangefinder part of the tank. So, useless frontal armor. Is the side any better? Nope. Big and flat, 80mm, there's no angling going on. And the rear is even thinner, that's 60mm, and this has two different armor zones here. So 30mm to 60, and back again. And of course, artillery love shooting at AMX 5120s because of their huge size and in their vulnerability of being splashed on the engine deck or the top of the turret, 30mm of thickness. So, also the back of the turret here is 60mm, but it's better angled, so you may be lucky and get a bounce. So, basically, the note to take away from this is the armor is mostly useless except the lower plate here, and even this well-angled upper armor here is useless as well because it's only 50mm thick. Of course, RNG will try and help you in some circumstances, but usually don't rely on your armor in any circumstances. So here are some key stats to do with the AMX 5120's gun and its mechanism, because it is an autoloader. This is in its fully upgraded configuration with AP ammunition, as well as vertical stabilizers, ventilation, and enhanced gun laying drive. Now, with these equipments, I get 2,241 DPM, damage per minute, which is, as you can see, a little bit better than that of the DPM without the ventilation. The damage of each shell on average is 400 with 257 penetration, which is excellent. You rarely need to fire APCR in this vehicle, but the APCR has 325 penetration if you really do need to win against certain targets, specifically tier 10 tank destroyers like the T-125 perhaps, or T-125, the T-123, and other heavily armoured vehicles such as that. Now, it's a 4-shot autoloader, 4 rounds in the magazine, which means you can do, on average, 1600 damage with those 4 shells if each penetrate. And there's a 32-second reload, which is about a second faster than that of the normal reload without the ventilation. 2.3 seconds aim time. This has been increased because, in terms of it's been decreased because I have an enhanced gun laying drive as well as the ventilation. Normally it would be around 2.6 seconds. 0.33 accuracy of the weapon, pretty decent accuracy, that's basically German accuracy, or 0.34 otherwise. View range is this, 390, but it goes up if you have a better crew and such. Camera rating, don't bother about camera rating, it doesn't tell me anyway, but the vehicle is so huge you're going to be spotted from many distances away. And also I didn't mention the power to weight ratio of 16 tons. 16.61, sorry. Now, one other thing with the AMX 5120 is the gun elevation and depression. The gun elevation and depression from the front, as you can see here to here, is 6 degrees of gun elevation and depression. Sorry, gun elevation is 8 degrees and depression is 6 degrees, whereas it drops down to 7 degrees of elevation over the sides and 6 over the rear. Depression is 6 throughout the 360 degrees of the turret, however. Now, this means the AMX 5120 has difficulty fighting on hills and fighting from ridgelines. It prefers fighting on flat terrain, and you may have experienced this with the AMX 5100. So, last thing I'm going to take a look at is the upgrade tree when you get this out of the box, as it were. Let's get back to the game for that. So the last bit of in-game knowledge that you... the last bit of in-garage knowledge that you might want to know is the upgrades. When you get this from stock and what you have to get to become fully equipped and upgraded. Looking at the research page, you have choice of 3 guns, no turret upgrades, and 1 engine, radio, and track upgrades. Now, radio, very quickly, used on a whole heap of other French vehicles, so unlock it from there. Engine, either unlock it on here or previously on the tier 9 and 10 tank destroyers for the French. And the tracks you will need in order to equip everything. I think you can have the engine on the stock tracks. You can see it's 60 load limit on stock and 65 on the upgrade. But I think if you want the engine and the gun, the 120mm gun, you're going to need both. But you can have one on the stock. Anyhow, choice of guns, 90mm, 100mm and 120mm. The 90mm you're never going to use, because if you're not stupid, you'll have gone through the AMX 5100 and you would have unlocked this gun. So we're not going to talk about the 90mm gun. This gun is what you use on the 5100, as I say, and then you can progress onto this 120mm gun. 100mm versus 120mm, 6 shells versus 4, 2.7 second reload versus 3.33 second reload, same reload time of all of the shells with 35 seconds, 232 penetration of AP versus 257, 263 APCR versus 325, 300 damage versus 400 damage. So, there are benefits to using both guns. This will do a huge amount of damage in fewer shots, however you can do more damage by using this and penetrating every single shell. Every single shell penetrating for 300 damage is 1800 damage, whereas this 4 of 400 is 1600. So you can choose to use this in the fully configured version, but I prefer to use this 120mm gun. It's nice doing those 400 plus rolls. The accuracy is marginally better on the 120mm gun, but overall this gun is not bad in order to upgrade towards the 120mm gun. Also, this 120mm gun will be used on the AX50B, but with some significant changes to it. This gun is not bad overall, but I think you're missing something out if you don't use the 120. I will add, for those people still stuck on the AMX 5100, your cripplingly slow reload of those 6 shells on the 5100 is almost cut in half. Well, not quite in half, but I believe it's 50 seconds for 6 shells on the 5100 as opposed to 35, so people will rejoice once they get to the AMX 5120. Right, last thing, I've talked about the enhanced gun laying drive, vertical stabilizer, and the vents. You can use other equipment, maybe coated optics, as you will be sniping in this a lot. Possibly your repair toolbox, possibly a binocular telescopes. I wouldn't really use anything else. I haven't really been ammo racked that much. Maybe a couple of times, so you might want to use that. But I quite like how I've set up in this. Better accuracy on the move and rotation of the turret. Better crew skills, better everything to do with the ventilation by 5%. And better aim time. French guns generally have poor aim time, so getting that aim time down is what you want to do. Crew skills, 6th sense is a given. You don't want to be there unwillingly or unknowingly when artillery is aiming on you once you've been spotted, because you will likely die then and there. Repairs, of course, it's a heavy tank. Even though it doesn't have heavy tank armor, you will be tracked often and you will want to get out of there as well. I'm on my 2nd skill and I have the snapshot for the turret rotation, clutch braking, and situational awareness boost the view range, and I've forgotten what clutch braking does, so we'll just look at that briefly. And the traverse speed goes up with that. So it's up to you really, but that's my crew and its crew skills. I did transfer this crew from the 5100, which you'll likely do if you are on that. That's enough of the statistics, and if you're still with me, here we go with the gameplay. Right, so we are on the favourite map of mine, which I keep playing all the time, Theory Salient, or Prokhorovka, with a nice skin on it. In the AMX 5120, of course. And this replay is going to show you the strengths of the AMX 5120 in terms of its firepower, but also the horrendous weaknesses, and also it shows me being a bit of a noob. So we're just going to speed this up a little bit because, as you can see, we're going pretty fast, I guess, but we want to get to the hill where the action starts to take place. And roughly you go across country like this. This is times 2 speed, about this sort of speed. So 30 kilometers an hour in a heavy tank such as this is pretty good. And you can see the turret rotation there is also pretty nice, meaning you can reacquire your targets quite well. Thankfully there's no artillery in this game, but if there was, I would probably have died a lot quicker. And I am going to go fight on this hill, but I'm not going to crest the ridge because A, that'd be suicide, and B, I want to shoot people on the side here. You can see that this 416, however, wants to kill our light tank, and we plant 2 shells into him and finish him off. 1200 damage as quick as that. We've only got 1 shell left though, but you can see the huge firepower potential of the AMX 5120. Looking for a target. There's a huge glut of them over there, and we will be able to get 1 more shell in. Side of the 254, pretty nice. So we hit all 4 shells, penetrated all of them, and did 1582 damage, as opposed to the 1600 average that I was talking about earlier. So it's a bit disappointing, but you can see we were able to take out a tier 8 Soviet medium tank very quickly. And the 35-second reload, it's around 32 seconds with my crew and the equipment setup, is not too bad. But we're not ready to shoot at anyone until just now. Now I'm trying to be careful here, not go on the hill and expose myself too much. Side of the Panther. Panther 2, straight through the turret. This penetration is great. We missed that shot there. Fire 1 blind at the AMX CDC. And I believe we hit him because he's now on 8% health. And we're looking for the last shell. 2 enemies up. This is a bit risky for me, and I decided not to do that because you can see I'm struggling with the gun depression and the gun elevation. So I decided to take a reload, 33 seconds. We've done 2000 damage though in 5 hits, which is not too shabby at all. And we haven't been spotted yet. / shot at. Oh, weird camera bug there, but oh well. Almost reloaded, looking for the side of that panther again. Not going to get it this time. And I'm trying to use these bushes in order to not get shot by enemy vehicles from the right hand side. Now just remember that in the later part of the video. Tortoise has quite good frontal armor, but 257 penetration just goes through it like butter. And you can see I'm aiming for his weak spots. And we take a full health Tortoise down for the most of his health, and we get spotted, and we pull the hell back. As you can see, the fire's coming in from the right hand side, and there is a T-29 with good gun depression. As you can see, that Spearpanzer 1C takes him out. IS-3 on our team, pretty standard, moaning, because, you know, he's the most qualified player to tell other players what to do. Slightly annoying, but oh well. We've reloaded. We know there's a target on the right, most likely the Tortoise and the T-29 in front of us. We get spotted by the T-29 and we pull back. We don't want to get shot unnecessarily. Up to 3,500 damage done. Hopefully the T-29 won't be looking at us. Okay, he is looking at us. This is bad. I consider going for the commander's hatch, but we take a shot from him. And that looks like a horribly well-angled armor, but with 257 pen we managed to go through him. We're also lucky in taking a bounce there. You can see the damage panel at the bottom left. I'm taking 2 hits, and only one of them bounces, probably from that Type 64 or Panther with their 76mm guns. Still looking for that Tortoise. There he is. And aiming. Don't waste a shot just yet. Kind of paranoid of getting shot from the right hand side still. So we pull back. And take a reload. There's a Type 64 though. And I want to get rid of him because he will spot me again. And we can't have that. Oh no no. Annoying light tanks deserve to be shot by 120mm of pure firepower. Almost reloaded. I don't think we're spotted just yet, which is surprising. Don't have any camo crew on this. One end takes his track off, and I hesitate firing there, but the Panther doesn't pull back too far, which is lucky for him and for me. And we take out the Type 64. Tortoise is still up, looking for the weak spot. And he goes down to the Rambatel Borsig. 2 shells left. Looking for targets. Those 2 are down there. IS-3. Nope, not going to waste the shell. So now there's 2 enemies left, an IS-3, a T-34, a Panther, and a T-30. T-30's well out of view and been spotted by the Panther, I would assume. There he is. And here is where I make a critical mistake. I stay out in the open way too long. The T-34 and the IS-3 aim at me. I manage to track the Panther, and there it is. He kills me with his great penetration gun for a tier 7. And the T-34 and the IS-3 just pummeled me for 437 damage there, and 399 damage. And you saw that my huge side armor was meaningless. It's just a big, clumsy target. No amount of angling on the turret would save me there, because those 2 have excellent penetration. 225 for the IS-3's BL9, and the T-34's 248 for its 120mm. So, 4,488 damage done. And that is game over for me, and our team do manage to pull the win.
So I hope you enjoyed this review of the AMX 5120. I hope I went through everything you needed to know. Tell me what you think of A, the replays, B, the review I did, and C, the vehicle. AMX 50-100 drivers, tell me if you want to move on to the AMX 50-120 and then the AMX 50B. I myself showed you the pure destructive capability of it, but coupled with its weak armor, as well as poor elevation and depression angles of the gun. The 3.33 second reload time is a bit poor as well, but it does get better on the AMX 50B, so I've been told. And I didn't actually show you any ramming potential, but because it weighs 60 tons and can go quite quickly, you will be able to do this at some points. Anyhow, that was the AMX 50-120. I hope you enjoyed the review, and please be sure to give a like down below if you did, and perhaps share it with your friends. And as always, I've been Geogen, this has been the AMX 50-120 review, and I'll see you chaps and chapheads in the next one.